Hello and welcome to the HaskinCast Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I have been away for far longer than I intended to be. There are a lot of reasons, and I'm going to make a bunch of excuses too. Finished the album. My Dreamscape album actually is coming out on Bandcamp tomorrow. Had some issues with my distributor. Not sure that I'm going to continue to release new things with them. I'm looking at some other options, but just kind of at the point where I've had it with their service. Maybe it's time to move on. So for now, the album will be available on my Bandcamp site. That link will be in the show notes. And I'm really excited about it. It took a while to get things together. Ran into some unexpected problems, but I was able to work through those. Then it just came down to the mixing and remixing and overthinking and mixing again to go back to the original mix that I had for the most part. And I did a whole video series on the songs called it Behind the Song. There's a different video for each song on the album available on my YouTube channel. And, kind of had fun with it. It was nice to delve back into these songs. Some of these are some of the earliest instrumentals I ever wrote, going back to 1995. And that was around the time I got my first Korg sequencer. I had an X3, which was a 61-note, 16-track sequencer, and working with that, and a 4-track that I bought from my friend Doug. And that's how I used to make music back then. Actually, I started with a Casio and just did everything live and had to remember all of it. And now then I bought the sequencer and started working on that, which expanded the quality of the sounds as well as the vast number of sounds I had. I think with the Casio, I had like 16 sounds or something like that, and got into hundreds with the sequencer. But that was all in the beginning. And so each video talks about the song, how it came to be. And it was really fun strolling down some of those memories. So here's the plan is working so far. I plan to release one new album and one old album every year until I've caught up with all the older albums. If I can get a third album done in the middle of that, great. But I don't want to be away from the podcast too long. It's really tough to juggle all of these projects. And then I might get a work for hire that I have to do or want to do. So, it's really tough to balance everything. So in working on the album, I tried to schedule some interviews, but the interviews kind of fell through. The timing wasn't good. So I just kept going back to, okay, maybe I can do it this week. Okay, this week I should be able to do it. And then my guest would back out. So it's been a bumpy ride while I've been away working on the album. But now I've got a guest. And I have a guest lined up for next week, which is awesome. And my other guests that I've been working with, that their projects are continually delayed due to COVID. I'm not sure how long they're going to continue to be delayed, because if we're not looking at doing concerts until at least January, possibly spring of 2021, I don't think they're going to hold their albums back that long. So hopefully some of those projects will come through as well, and we'll get those folks on the show. I've been in touch with their media people, and things are looking good on those fronts. So that's all pretty exciting. And so the album's coming out. I'm excited about that. I've already got the concept for my next album, thanks to my wonderful graphic artist, Kelly at OutsideTheBox.photo. She does all my album covers. Love the cover she did for Dreamscape. The person that does my lettering is Rebecca Poole at dreams2media.com. And she does just a beautiful job with the fonts and the placement and the coloring. There's so much that goes into that. And I'm so grateful to get the chance to work with both of them on these projects. And so Kelly had sent me a photo that I thought, wow, I've been waiting to do a project. It was one I wanted to do, but I just didn't find the right, like maybe I should do it now. Maybe this isn't the right time. She sent me the photo. I'm like, all right, I'm pulling the trigger. That's the next album. So that album I will be working on starting in another week or so. I'm just finishing up some upgrades to the computer, which is part of the reason that I had to be careful of how I scheduled my interviews, because the computer had to be offline for a good amount of time doing these upgrades. But I'm almost done. I actually just have to install one more drive, back up another drive, and that's it. So I've upgraded all the storage and rearranged things and done backups of everything, because I'm ridiculously anal like that. I don't want to lose anything I've worked on or anything that anyone else has worked on with me. And I'm a bit of an archivist when it comes to that. My roommate in Denver, the one that suggested I buy a sequencer in the first place, calls me an archivist, and he's absolutely right. I'm very ridiculous about my redundancy and backups. But I learned, having lost a track in a session one time, to it's better to be ridiculous. And storage is not that expensive these days. It's very affordable, not like it used to be. So that's all going on here. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I did a video series on how I do my podcast. That is on my YouTube channel as well. I made a playlist of those videos. So I've got that one. I've got the one for the Dreamscape album. I did a new opener for YouTube, and I think that's all the videos I've done. I'm trying to get more comfortable in front of the camera. I don't like looking at myself, so it's hard to, piece those videos together or even want to film them knowing that I'm going to have to look at myself on camera. So it's something that I struggle with, but you got to do it in today's age. Video is very important. So I'm doing video, and it's weird. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I loved music videos. I'm definitely a child of MTV, but I also feel like music is audio and it shouldn't be told visually. You should be able to visualize your own story. And that's a lot of what the songs on Dreamscape are about, is visualizing your own story. So I don't know. I love music videos, but I also love the idea of music just being audio. Even when I go to a concert, you're not seeing the story. You're just watching the band play. So that's different. But I mean, to have like a story play out like a movie, I don't know. I'm not so sure I'm a fan of that. But then when I think of a song like Dirty Creature by Split Enz from the 80s, like the video is so cool for that. How do you not want to see the video when you listen to the song? So I don't know. If you guys have an opinion on that, I'd love to hear it. You can write me at scott@scotthaskin.com. I would also love if you left a rating for me on whatever your Podbean listening device of choice is. iTunes is a great place to leave reviews. I get a lot of listens off of iTunes. It's probably my number one place that people listen to me on. So that would be the best place to leave a review. But, anywhere that you have something to say is a great place to say it. So hopefully I'll be able to see it. And I can appreciate whatever you had to say, whether you love it, whether you hate it. But if you hate it, why are you listening? That doesn't even make sense. So go figure. Anyway, my guest today, I'm so excited that we were able to schedule again, because if you guys remember, episode 99 featured my friend and fellow film composer, Kevin Tye. And we had to cut our time short because we were having some technical issues trying to overthink the technology. So I thought, as I was listening back to that episode today, because I wanted to make sure I didn't, I wasn't redundant in my questions, I was reamused with how we were talking about the technical problems that we had trying to do this whole, video thing and whatever. So I messaged Kevin and I said, hey, I'm good to call you in 5 minutes. And he's like, yeah, that'd be perfect. So I call him, then he's got the video going. I'm like, oh, here we go. Exactly what we had before. And we had some technical problems, but we actually worked through it. We only got caught with Zoom freezing up one time, which was very nice. And it was a great time. Great to catch up with Kevin. He's working on a Western right now. It's something that's very out of his element, the score that he's doing. So it's really interesting to see people pushing their limits, pushing their abilities, expanding into new horizons, because you never know what kind of things that might inspire you to create. And Kevin's doing a great job. The music on the trailer is fantastic. That link is in the show notes. And I definitely wish him and the crew great success on this film. So instead of me telling you about Kevin, let's just talk to Kevin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome back my guest that we had to cut too short because we were too busy trying to be better than the system and it didn't go well. Kevin Tye. Kevin, how are you?
Amazing. I would try and lay the sound effects in of the applause, but we've had so many technical issues again that plagued us. There you go. That was good. That was really good.
I can do the sound of a distant crowd that also might sound like the sea.
There's it's like the dress. I couldn't tell what that was. That could have been the ocean for all I know. So how you been, man?
Been doing good, man. So since we last talked, I moved. You completely destroyed your studio and are rebuilding it. It's like a whole different thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call it a thing. right now. I guess a construction site is a thing, isn't it? So yeah, you can. But yeah, it's been a busy couple of months. I think when I talked to you, we decided during the lockdown, because we weren't getting much foot traffic on the initial kind of lockdowns here in Arizona, that, hey, what a great opportunity to start knocking walls down and ceilings out and padding it and redoing all of the acoustics and all that stuff. And then, halfway through, all my contractors would start leaving for bigger jobs because there's the massive construction boom right now in the Southwest. Yeah. So they all left to go build houses, and my studio's sort of left where it is. So it doesn't look like a studio. It looks like a basement, which is where it's located, funnily enough. But yeah, so we're having fun. It actually, to be honest, it gives me more time to, while I haven't, finished it, it gives me a good opportunity to see what I really want to do with the space. Like, I spent a good couple of weeks just with my speaker placement, and I've never really spent time doing that. And actually, people tell you to do that, but it really helps. I think I've found the sweet spot, which I've never had before. So
good.
It's worth taking time, I think.
And that's going to change a little bit too as you put the diffusers in, because where it soaks up is going to change a little bit the way that the speakers sound. So you may have to adjust a little bit, but maybe you can put those diffusers in based on your current speaker placement.
Precisely. And I know you and I, as we're recording this, just so people know, we're on a Zoom session, so we can actually see each other as well. So Scott's looking at my derelict studio in the background, and it looks horrible. There's paint swatches on the back. There's bare walls with insulation that shouldn't probably be uncovered. But it's okay. It can be. But, the door's not on properly, and just everything's just not set up at all.
It's kind of like what I would have pictured Frank Zappa's studio to look like, where nothing was really finished and it was just kind of haphazard.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's given me that time to sit and, instead of rushing the finishes, which is what we're really waiting on right now. We're not waiting on the main, the door, I guess, is probably pretty important, isn't it? But other than the door and a window, hey, who needs that in a studio anyway? But yeah, it's given me a chance to really sit down and say, okay, do I really want red fabric on that wall as well as above me and on the back wall? And what kind of stone finish do I want on my diffuser wall in the front of me? That, it's given me that little bit of time to think a bit more about what I want this, again, space to be.
I like that. And my whole thing is I forgot to move the TV out of the way of the background before I did the call with you, because I didn't know we were doing video. Otherwise, I would have moved it. And I'm like, that's the biggest thing I have to be concerned about right now.
Yeah. What's on the TV?
Oh, nothing, actually. It's that's where I do my Wii Fit workout.
Hey, okay. Yeah. Good. I was going to ask how you're keeping fit. Yeah. So the ceiling. You can see the ceiling. Yeah. It looks very low, doesn't it? It's actually quite high.
Okay. Is it finished though?
It's fit. No, the gaping great hole at the back there you see will insulate the fact it's not
Didn't
finished.
Even notice that.
But yeah, it's absolutely, in terms of the soundproofing, it's 95% there. Okay. We've got to kind of close this out. But yeah, we built a ceiling within a ceiling, or sorry, a room within a room. So what that meant is we stripped all of the, again, I think I tried to go down this road on the last podcast, and I don't want to bore anyone, but we tore out all of the drywall and essentially from the joists that hold the drywall, and then we built new joists in the middle to kind of float the floor or the ceiling down a little bit, so it's off the original joists, so the transmission of sound, the foot traffic specifically, could not penetrate as easily because the joists aren't connected. So yeah, it's like a decoupled wall, where you've got a staggered wall, I think they call it, where one side doesn't actually physically touch the other one. So that's designed to, my biggest problem in a basement studio is transmission of sound. And you can't stop it unless you have massively expensive options that, frankly, no sane person would ever think of doing, except I went ahead and did it. So, but it's been worth it, I think.
I think that's why most studios are built to be studios as opposed to converting them. There's only so much that you can do with something that's pre-existing, especially in a basement, because you're just stuck with whatever's there. You can't build around anything. You can't go further to the side. You're just where you are.
Yeah, you're very limited in what you can do, unless, again, you get really, really freaky with a sledgehammer and a bunch of drywall and wood, which is what
which I also could see you doing on a Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I spend so much time in here creating, but then I also spend so much time in here redesigning it, and I do it all the time. It's another way of kind of changing like on a project, I'll like to change things, colors or pictures on the wall or whatever it is. I'm doing a Western right now, which we can talk about, but I wanted to have some kind of Western themed stuff in here, but I didn't, obviously it's not ready to do that yet. But if, let's say I do a sci-fi in the future, maybe I'll buy one of those star globes and put it in the corner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And kind of, that kind of stuff, it sounds really cheesy, but I find it really helps setting the mood.
You could bring in some dirt and some old creaky wood and, just make yourself a little...
what do you mean bring in? Area? That's what the studio is. Dirt and creaky wood. That's basically what it looks like right now.
Well, let me ask you, so since you're not in a finished environment, and obviously that's weighing on you a little bit, you want it to be done, how is that affecting your work on the score? Because you're obviously very focused on getting the score done, but that's got to be, it's got to be weighing on you a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wanted it finished because there's musicians that are coming in here to record. Mm-hmm. I've had to delay that because the acoustics just aren't there yet to have I've got some flutter echo at points where it's going to catch it and all this kind of acoustic noise that I can get rid of, but I need to have panels built. But in order to build the panels, I have to have the ceiling painted. Before the ceiling gets painted, I have to finish the wall with it's all a knock-on effect. So it has impacted it, although surprisingly most of it's been in the box writing anyway. Like the more time that goes by, the more I'm like, I could literally be with a laptop on a beach and I could probably write this cue on the beach. Like I'm at that point where I literally all I have now, when I got rid of all my equipment to pack it away before the demo, I really thought long and hard about what am I keeping? Am I going to put anything back in the studio? And I had this really elaborate desk that had all this kind of rack equipment that I don't really have. I'm not planning on buying any more rack equipment. I'm more and more and more in the box these days. And I felt like, I don't need to put anything much back in here. So finding I've got literally a mouse, a keyboard, my controller keyboard, and an interface is really all you need. And I can do most of the cue writing. In fact, that's all I used. I didn't use any synths. All my external synths are plugged away. And in reality, this synths aren't really a Western thing. At least I'm trying to keep it more traditional. So, but yeah, we've been using, some amazing stuff from just soft synths, like the Romplers and stuff. The good ones, not the old kind of terrible ones, but the real good ones, and they've been amazing. Like, honestly, it got to a point where I had a violinist play in a piece and then paid him for the piece and realized it actually wasn't as good as the mock-up I'd done with the Spitfire stuff.
Wow.
So I ended up kind of and that doesn't work all the time, and obviously maybe just the recording wasn't good, but all that's what I'm getting to in a long ways. It can all be in the box now. So really, I mean, the studio for me has to be a place of creation, and no one wants to create in a building like this. So it's important I get it finished, and that will then allow me to, get the score. It won't stop me finishing the score. That's what I guess I'm trying to say, because everything's in the box anyway. I'm not worried about the violinist that's going to record in the middle of the room anyway, because I'm closed micing her. So yeah, it's not going to have a massive effect, but I just want to get it finished.
Well, I think there's the psychological factor of, you're working, you're in that room, and while you're working, your mind goes to, okay, but what am I going to put on that wall? Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Wait a minute, I'm working on a score here, because you want to get it done so bad. I could see that being a distraction.
It's hugely distracting. I mean, what you just said right then is probably the number, other than going to the fridge for food, the number one thing that stops me from, getting on with work is watching videos on YouTube about studio builds, and that kind of thing. On maybe someone's done something somewhere where I'm like, oh, I could change the design because I'm at the level, I haven't finished the thing. Like, the analogy I'll give is if you're building a PC and then you're waiting on components because maybe Intel are going to announce the next chip, and so you wait, and then 6 months later you're ready to buy, but yet in 3 months they're going to release another chip. That your system is never built because you're constantly waiting for the next thing. So at some point I have to just decide on what color that baffle is going to be. I have to figure out, what color wood is going to go on for the diffusion. I have to make those choices and just finish it. But I'm scared to, because I don't want to in 2 years end up tearing it all out again because I rushed it. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
I get that, but don't you think we can kind of do that with everything? I mean, I think on the last time you were on the show, we talked about, when do you call a piece done? Because as writers, we can just keep writing and layering and removing and adding, and we could do that all day long. But at some point, you have to call it done. I think we as humans, we're so busy or so worried about making everything perfect that we tend to just not do anything or not accomplish anything. At some point, you just got to go, this is it. I'm making this choice. I'll give it 5 years. If I don't like it, I'll redo it, or I'll paint it, or whatever. Allow yourself a little flexibility, but otherwise you're always going to be in this state of, okay, what should I do with that? Yep,
I agree. And you said it right. Anything in life is the same way. You in the studio sense is, do I just get it done? In music sense, in movies, for example, if you're an editor on a movie, are you quite happy with the scene? Everything is, you have to be organized. And I don't think anyone. I do see on YouTube some of those music personalities sharing some of their kind of tips and tricks. Like Christian Henson, I follow a lot. Any composers out there? He's the guy from Spitfire. Amazing, interesting YouTube channel that just kind of goes into a lot of really cool information. But he's a really good taskmaster, and he's way more organized than I ever will be. And that organization, I think, doesn't do me much service because that makes me procrastinate. And so that procrastination may be, I didn't finish my studio, or I'm not going to finish this cue until I get something else on it, and I sit on it and I never actually get that something else on it, and it forever sits on my hard drive, and doesn't come out. So it's important to make deadlines, I think, is what I'm driving here. And I'm very bad at it, evidently, but I think it's something that we should all have.
I think the difference is that you're bad at meeting deadlines for yourself that aren't make or break. But if you're doing a film score, if you have to be up 3 days in a row, you're going to get that film done.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of contentious right now with the project I'm doing, because the post-production phase of this should never be shorter than the shooting phase on, in terms of the cinematography phase. So in other words, if you spend 2 weeks on set shooting a movie, your post-production phase should not be anything less than that. In fact, it should be 2 or 3 times that time.
Right.
Well, we have a very aggressive turnaround time on this project, which we knew about. We knew that there's momentum that we want to carry us into. Look, there's companies chomping at the bit to just get their content created. Some companies are finding ways to make content. So everyone's trying to satisfy the appetite for the lack of content that we have out there right now. So but content creators are frantically trying to create that content because people are willing to consume it right now. They're bored. They've seen all the shows. They've seen all the Netflix documentaries or whatever it is. So I think people are just really clambering for content, and we have a really good piece of content that we want to get out the door as quickly as possible, but it has to be, and this comes back to when is it done? And so this is an interesting one, because I fear that if you rush a project, with a project, yes, you can procrastinate and it takes longer, but it can also be underdone, and you can rush it and actually wish that you'd spent more time on it and wish you'd delayed it more, because things, for whatever reason, things change. You may have an idea for a cue that you don't have anymore because you had to deliver the film a week ago. So it's a balance of trying to hey, we've got to get this done. We have to finish this stuff, but we don't want to just churn stuff out that's not any good. That's my point.
And the funny thing is, I get what you mean about momentum, but it's like this lockdown, as we're looking at it right now, is not going to be ending anytime soon. They're not even looking at booking concerts until at least January of 2021. And most of them are saying spring before we're going to start having shows again. So it's like people are going to be watching the content. So unless you have a contract that says, if you don't give it to us by this date, we're going to drop it, hold it back a couple of weeks if it's going to be that much better for it. Do you want to rush crap out, or do you want to hold it back a little bit and give something that people are going to go, wow, I like the film these people made. I want to see what they do next.
Yeah, exactly. And no one wants to and, you know, luckily the people I work with, they recognize that we should absolutely not rush it, but they're very key to draw, you know, to make sure that if we're not keeping one eye on the momentum, that momentum drags very quickly. As we've seen, I think, unfortunately, a lot of the producers I'm working with have seen multiple projects that they've been involved in never see the light of day, like we talked about last time. I mean, there's projects that I wish would come out, because there's great work that people did some amazing things, and for whatever reason it's not out, and it's frustrating. And so they don't want that to fall into the same trap. So I do get it, but life's about managing expectations. It is.
That's very true. And I feel that because I've worked on a couple of projects that were, in my opinion, some of my best work as a film composer that no one will ever see.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in some cases, filmmakers or people involved have passed away. Others are just like, yeah, I'm just not ready to show that yet.
Moved on, yeah.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
I reserve the right now to any... I think we touched upon this last time, but we'll go over it again. It's been a while. When I get hired for a project, I retain 100% rights to that music, period. I won't, unless I get a very generous buyout offer for music, which I have. I've worked for hire. I will retain the ownership to that music, because look, if I work hard on a track or a movie or whatever it is, and it doesn't come out and the track record is not good, unfortunately for me, then hey, I own the rights to the music. I'll go sell it. I'll use them as production music. I will do something else with that music where that is not tied up with some awful productions sob story from the producers on why their movie is not currently out on Amazon Prime, which is what the promise was. So that for me is a learning curve that I now forcibly do in all of my agreements. And if there's a project that, it makes it more cheaper for clients to go the production music route instead of hiring me, then fine, that's okay. But you know what you get with a custom piece of music. You can tailor it still. It's not like I won't work with the director or the producer on the spec and the brief and mold it to what they need, but I will ultimately retain the rights to it in case things happen. And they get, exclusive use of it for the production and that kind of thing. So it's amicable. Everyone's happy with it. It's cheaper than buying the music, but it just makes it's a little bit of safety net for everyone involved, I think.
And I would imagine if it was something that by some twist of fate did get picked up by Amazon Prime or Netflix, obviously you're going to say, okay, well, now that these circumstances have changed, now we need to renegotiate the music. I do have 100% of the rights, but Netflix isn't going to accept it without the music. So now we have to talk. Yep. I mean, obviously you're open to that possibility. Yep.
I mean, we're in a gig economy. So really, I mean, there's some agreements I've made for and when I say gig economy, it's the Fivers, it's the sites like that where you can go and find a cellist in Czechoslovakia. I am good at geography, I promise. But yeah, and you can go and get it for $60, and they can do a piece for you quickly. And the agreement is, you can use it for whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So in a gig economy, it's important to be very flexible with compensation in many forms. Some of the work in my studio was a trade in services for work I'd done on a project. Mm-hmm. And that was amicable. It made sense to do it that way. So in this time of kind of, unknowns, you need to be the most flexible you can with remuneration, i.e. how you're paid. Because sometimes there'll be cash, sometimes there'll be back-end points, sometimes it's a bit of both. Sometimes it's I'm gonna do your electricity or your electrics or whatever it is, or your floor in trade for whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously hoping that they're licensed or really good at that.
That's usually helpful. Yeah, for sure.
But it is tough because we really don't know what to expect. I mean, because so few projects are being created right now. I mean, they're trying to work around things as best as possible, but because there's a limited number of projects, that limits the amount of work that comes your way, which limits the amount of income that you have to do things like finish your project, in your studio. It's such a whirlwind effect. And I'm really hoping that they're going to start finding some ways around it. I know they're starting to shoot again, but they're very, very restricted.
They're incredibly restricted, and I'll tell you that some of the big productions, that the production I'm involved in is a SAG production, and we have delays because they have to adhere to the new rules, and so we're not allowed to shoot certain things, which luckily for me has given me a respite from finishing certain things, because I know that we've still got to shoot stuff when the Screen Actors Guild allows their actors to be on sets again. But yeah, content's coming. There'll be a wave of content, and I think, like I said, people want to be poised for that consumption of that content. People are hungry for new things and new exciting things, and I think one of the benefits of a lack of content is maybe made people see what else is out there and realize what's really good and what's really not. And certainly it's given an opportunity for things that wouldn't have been seen had they not been stuck inside their house for 3 months, like Tiger King. Tiger King was kind of one of those shows where it probably would have found an audience, but would it have found such a following and such an audience had it not been for the fact that there were so many people bored out their minds and they wanted to watch something that they hadn't seen before?
Right. That and the fact that so many series that we were waiting to see, like Haunting of Hill House or Stranger Things, are not going to be coming out on time. So now those binges aren't going to happen for a while. So now there's like, okay, well, I'll just see what else is. Maybe I'll give this a chance. And,
exactly.
And you'll like it. I found a weird rash of movies on Netflix that seem to be completely overdubbed. And fairly well. They look fairly good if you're following the sync.
There is a ton of Asian, like Indian, Chinese films out there that are, from a production standpoint, look very good.
Yeah.
Stories are a little bit different because they're obviously for those markets. But I mean, a redubbing session, you think about that. You know that if you're in India and you're a producer and you've got a library of 15 movies that you've shot over the last 10 years that are primarily for Indian audiences. But then you think, well, each one of these movies for $20,000, I could completely redub in English, and get a deal to put it on Amazon Prime, and I might make that money back 3 or 4 times. I mean, it's a worthy investment. So yeah, there's a lot of, I have noticed the same thing. A lot of these kind of shows, you're like, wow, did that really get made this summer? But what they are is they're repackaged movies from 4 or 5 years ago that were not for this audience, in the US domestically, but have been repackaged, so they are now.
It's just, at first it was kind of a little unsettling because, you and I, we do ADR, we do those kind of sessions. And so when you see it and it's not exactly perfect, once you know what's happening, once you know that that's a dubbed voice, it's kind of hard to watch the rest of the movie. And it usually takes me like at least half of the movie to get past that, and then I can enjoy the ending.
Yeah. My wife hates watching any Marvel movies with me because the Marvel movies pretty much is all dubbed.
Yeah,
especially the exterior scenes. Lord of the Rings, the entire Hobbit prequel series was ADR'd.
Really?
The Lord of the Rings, like Star Wars. I think a lot of Star Wars was ADR, at least the prequels or whatever. There's a lot of ADR that goes on. Some of it's pretty terrible. And yeah, I'm with you. I was doing a session the other day with the actor, and he's very good with ADR, so he knows that you're supposed to basically recreate what you're doing and as much as you can, because that informs how your diaphragm might have been on that line. If you're like on a horse, you're holding yourself in the saddle, then your lines come out differently than if you were standing or sitting in a chair. So it's funny watching an actor in the booth. Sometimes I'll do it out here in the control room, but again, with it not being fully acoustically sound, I'm doing a lot of it in the booth here. But it's funny watching actors that know how to do ADR, and they're on a horse, so they're actually like moving around, like or they're lifting something, so they're moving their face like this and they're making it, So it's good to see that. But then you get actors that have never done it, and they're just very stoic. They're standing there, and there's a fight scene, so they're like, oh. It's like, no, you got to move with it. It's brilliant. I love it. It's one of my favorite jobs, actually, ADR.
Oh, it's fun. One of my favorite things is like when somebody's doing a jogging scene, and you can tell it's ADR because they're not breathing heavy. They're not, they're not doing, it doesn't match at all. And they add in the breathing sounds, but the voice doesn't work properly with what you're seeing. And it just drives me crazy.
It looks, it's bad ADR is, for me, it's more entertaining than the film itself in most cases. So I'll just sit there and look for the bad dubbing. But I have, it's so funny. So obviously the ADR process is world renowned. You get usually a series of beeps, and then you go on the third one or the fourth one, whatever I can't remember the name now, what it's called. But with Logic, so I use Logic. Logic's ADR for me is just basically looping the audio, but I'll loop it to a point where it's almost AMR or ASMR.
ASMR, yeah.
They call it. ASMR, where it's almost you're going into a trance because you're replicating the words. I've built whole sentences out of almost 2 or 3 words at a time with this approach, and I don't even need software usually to sync it. It's usually almost perfect without the need. But then I'll use something like what's that software? It's called Synchro Arts Vocaline.
Oh, yeah.
I use Vocaline just to help put it into the pocket, for the last 10-15%. But yeah, most of the time, it's a really, once you get the actor used to it, it's fun. I love ADR.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool thing. It's hard to do. I find being the artist very difficult because I
agree.
I'm a drummer and I can't get the timing of dialogue right.
It seems really easy, right? But it's all about if you're a good mimic, like some actors are really good mimics, they've got good range because they can, like Tom Hardy or whoever, they're very good at mimicking different people. So something like ADR is easy because you're already halfway there with your ability to mimic. But if you're not that kind of actor, I find like I'm not that kind of actor when I act, and I'm very bad at it for that reason. I'm not good at kind of emulating what I do, even though when I'm the engineer on the other side of the class, I'm really good at telling them what they have to do, but I can't follow my own advice.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. There's a reason I'm not an actor. But in this Western, now I've seen the trailer and the cinematography is fantastic. The shoot is fantastic. I love the music you did for the trailer. But is it challenging because you're an actor in this too, and you're scoring scenes that you're watching yourself in? That seems like it would be weird to me.
It is weird because I hate watching myself, but not for that reason. That's a different thing. It's weird because I don't want it to suck. So I will admit it. I will spend more time on the scenes that I'm in if I'm in a production, because I act as well, so obviously there's some productions where I'm doing the music as well, or the sound, whatever. But yeah, I just, generally speaking, I want it to be a really cool scene. Like there's a scene in the movie that I'm working on right now where one of the lead actors is boxing. So if you think about the Sherlock movie with Robert Downey Jr. doing that boxing, it's very stylized, very much like that. And the music is kind of similar as well. I wanted that kind of Irish jig type, folky type feel to it. But I'm in the scene as well. So I'm like, it just doesn't, it works, but I was like, the theme I came up with for the main character doesn't suit the character I play. So I can't use it there. So I spent a long time figuring out like what I wanted to do. And then I ended up making it work where I had the theme playing on a different part of the thing, but it was interwoven into some kind of weird thing that suited the character I was playing. But yeah, anyway, long story short, not to get too deep into that particular part, but it's definitely harder because I will want it to not suck as much as the other stuff I'm doing.
Well, I can certainly appreciate that. But this kind of music is something that you really haven't. I've never heard you do Irish music before.
No, I've never. I mean, that's the challenge, right? My background is electronic music. I'm a EDM, if you want to call it the more modern term, but dance music was what I grew up on, electronic dance music from the 90s specifically, but, 80s as well, like new wave. So to do a score that's like everything's sampled instruments, there's no synthesized stuff other than maybe a few bass notes here and there and a few stinger sound effects for kind of good measure in certain places. I've never done one, and I can't play an instrument. I can't play a piano. I can, from ear, but I'm not a gifted musician in the sense of picking up a guitar and playing it. I do everything by ear, and it takes me longer because if I knew how to play a guitar, maybe it wouldn't take me 20 minutes to do something because I'd know how to do it on a guitar. Same with a piano. But you know what? It makes me write differently as a result, I find anyway. So I find myself emulating a certain style, but then I have my own style with it. And I probably have repetitions more so than someone that was more classically trained. But it doesn't matter. Music in a film is about underscoring what's going on the screen. You shouldn't ever overpower it unless it's a chase or something.
Right.
And we've got those cues in this film. That's what I'm really proud of the work I've done so far, and I'm hoping that people who watch it will actually say, you know what, this was decent. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to win awards with it. Certainly be nice, but we're just trying to say, wow, this is a good for a Western. And there are a bunch on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Most of them are just not very good. This one was good. So I hope the score adds to that, and that's the goal, the score needs to enhance what's going on screen. And to do the Irish stuff, for me, that's why I wanted to do the score. It's a challenge. It was like, I've never done this before. Again, I've just stated I can't play an instrument, so nothing's natural to me. Everything is from a new perspective. And that's kind of exciting. Like, I would love to do more of these type of movies. Like, if I could do a Viking film now, knowing the sounds I can get out of these things. I mean, I could do a medieval. Like, I'm very much looking forward to exploring more of these organic things. It sounds weird that I've been so close-minded with electronics, and I haven't had a chance to expand with all these stringed instruments,
Well, you stick to the things that you're most comfortable with, especially when you're working under deadlines. It's like, here's what I know I can do. I've got 2 weeks to do this score. This is what I'm going to build it on as my foundation, right? And then maybe you'll add one little thing or two little things that you're not comfortable with, but you're going to stick to basically what you know. But that's what I love about film, is to get a Western which doesn't fit into the EDM world at all, unless it's nope. Like a steampunk kind of thing. Right. It forces you to do things that you would never do. You would never have picked up an Irish, whistle of any kind for any reason.
Tambourine. I was sitting there tambourining the other day, and I was like, I've used a tambourine, but not in the way I was using it. I was being very folky and shaking it, and it worked. It was like, this is so cool. And I've never played in a band, so I know this sounds crazy that I'm saying these things and I call myself a composer, but hey, they all come in different shapes and sizes.
True.
But I was playing this, this tambourine. I'm like, I've never been in a band. I've been on stage before. This is kind of cool. Like, I can see the adrenaline of like really playing along, and you're adding some kind of dynamic to the sound, and you get that whole live feel. Like, I feel like I've done everything backwards. I'm starting to live the life of a composer in the Benjamin Button sense, where I'm doing everything in the studio, and then eventually I'm going to broaden out to, all these experiences with live shows and things that I should have had, to begin with.
Well, maybe when the Renaissance Festival comes back, you can, get on stage with Dead Bob and play some tambourine.
Maybe you've seen me before. Maybe I've been there before. I mean, I'm just saying, I look very much like the whip guy, the guy that's got the whip.
Yeah, so same build and everything. Yeah.
Maybe it's me. Who knows?
But I do love being pushed. I do love finding reasons to do things I would have never done on my own. And I think that's really what's great about film, is that it forces you into a direction that you would have never driven down that street had you not gotten this film.
Yeah, and happy accidents. A lot of the cues that I wrote are literally just that. I sat there and doodled something. And there's a guy on YouTube, I have to call him out, that I find just fascinating from a kind of perspective of dumbing it down for people like me who can't play an instrument or do do any type of, traditional playing, there's a guy on YouTube by the name of Guy Macklemore, I think. Micklemore.
I think I've seen him.
English composer, older gentleman, but fascinating. Like lots of energy, and reminds me of teachers I had at school, actually. Very, like, looks the same, sounds the same, but just engaging. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, I've watched more videos that he's done than anyone else, because I can watch one of his films or his videos and immediately go straight to composing and write a cue. And in fact, it was 2 of the videos I watched from him on how to basically layer a string note. So you do your 7th and a 3rd up, and it gives you this kind of nice, this kind of chord. And I like basic stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I watched it and I thought, I'm going to try that. So I came in, I literally played this one thing on this default thing, and 2 hours later I had the cue.
Nice.
And that was all because of that. And it was all a happy accident. So it's that to me is the most important thing, is be willing to be different. I know it sounds really cheesy what I'm about to say, but like I said, the fact that I come from such a weird background to go into this kind of thing, it's exciting to explore it from that perspective versus a traditional note perspective, classically trained, whatever.
I don't think that's cheesy. And I think anytime that you shift your perspective, like when I started playing bass guitar, now I'm a drummer, I can play keyboards well enough to play what I write. Like I can play what's in my head. I couldn't join a cover band by any means.
Right.
I wouldn't pass the audition.
That's me.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you change your perspective, you start seeing music a different way, and you'll start writing a different way. Just like when you change your environment. If you were to start taking your laptop and you go out onto the beach and you're writing cues versus writing them in your basement, you're going to write a different way. It's just a different perspective. But I don't have any problem with you having never played in a band, calling yourself a composer, because you take a blank canvas and you create something out of that. Where I draw the line is people who use loops as their entire foundation of their song and call themselves composers.
Yeah, I agree. I've not used one loop or anything artificial other than the each semitone note on the keyboard that I've played everything in myself. There's no epic drums or anything. It's literally me drumming, strumming, in some instances holding the key down because of the low bass note, and then playing with the cutoff and everything. Like I'm a firm believer in that as well. Is that it's too easy now with these sample packs to make a hit record or hit, like some kind of thing. But that's what challenges me about. You don't see sample packs really for cinematic stuff other than the big trailer cinematic things.
Right.
You don't hear, there are some things you can, like some stuff like Absinthe and Omnisphere that have things geared towards that, but you don't need the loops, in my opinion. Learn how to, and like back to this guy Micklemore. I hope I'm getting his name right, but he teaches you how to do all of that. It's so easy. Just do this. This is a guy that's an award-winning composer that basically is in a shed in the bottom of his garden, not soundproofed in any way at all, and he's just doing it. And there's so many inhibitions. Like back to the studio, I could use this as an excuse not to create. The fact that it's not ready.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what? It's like I said, I don't need it necessarily anymore. It's really because it's, I have clients that come and use it for various things, and I have to have some form of presentation because that's, you don't want someone coming down to your basement and it looks like a derelict. You kind of wonder, is this really the studio? So
right, yeah. Especially, in a basement in a town that doesn't have basements.
There you go. Yeah. Why did he dig this basement?
Yeah, it's true. I wonder if he's the same guy that I saw do a walkthrough of the $99 Audio Imperia Orchestra.
That's the one.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yep, that's him. That's the guy. He's just. I mean, it resonated with me, like in terms of like, because there's a lot of good teachers on YouTube, a lot of really good teachers, in fact, but none of it's really been like, oh, okay, this is kind of like a lesson, it's kind of cool, but but guys is almost like an uncle that's like, okay, I'd show you how to do this, and he's engaging, and I'm like, okay, this is amazing. So he's over this 3 or 4 months, when I discovered him about 4 months ago. And I hadn't written a thing for this movie at all. It was just, we were still in discussions actually about what we were going to do. And his videos single-handedly got me started just experimenting and just doing it. Forget about the rest, just do it and see where it goes. So that's...
And he's so excited about what he's doing that it's hard not to sit there and get excited with him. Like he just brings that out.
Yeah.
Where most of them you watch and they're like, okay, what you want to do is you want to send this to your first master bus, and then you're going to want to
your bus one, and make sure it's in the first channel of bus one, because if you don't do it in bus one, then and if you go above 20%, then you're going to enhance the sound, and then you got to go back to Guitar Center, and it's just
it's like they took their bones out and said, now go do your video. We'll give you your bones back when you've met the contract obligation. You know.
Well, it's all about, and it goes back to like, you know, stuff at school. Like you really only learn things when your teacher was engaging and was different and you kind of inspired you. And I so true now for me personally is I couldn't go to a lecture with a boring, you know, unless it was something I was absolutely fascinated about. I could not go and sit through something where the guy presenting it was just boring. Which is why I think we still have time before AI really takes over, because that human element, I mean, anyone can get access to a PDF for a lesson, but it's how you learn it, how you retain that knowledge. And for me, the way into my heart, but no, into my brain is through someone who's really engaging.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example that backs that up. When I was in 5th grade, I started in band. And I had my little drum pad and my Rubank Elementary Method book that every drummer starts out with in 5th grade. And I loved it. And my instructor, he was retiring that year. And so he said, I'm going to talk to your teacher because I really see some potential in you. I'm going to see if I can get you out of class for an hour twice a week so I can go through all the rudiments with you that you wouldn't learn until next year. And my teacher went for it. And so twice a week, I went to the office and I sat there with my drum pad. He taught me all the rudiments, which was amazing. And I'm so glad he did, because the next year, the guy that took his spot was just god awful. He was aggressive. He was angry.
You wanted to leave the lesson.
Yeah. But and I quit band because I didn't want to, I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't excited anymore, you know?
That's it. My daughter was in a photography class at school, and she's just been a photography nut for a while, and about 2 months in, she's really just didn't care for it anymore. I said, why? She said, it's okay, it's boring, it's not what I thought it was. But it could be, you know what I mean? It could be what you thought it was. It's just this lame teacher that's really not got a heart in it. And I'm not, you know, blaming the teacher. She's got to teach what she's got to teach, but you can make it fun for the kids, you know, at least make it interesting.
Yeah, and make it fun for yourself. If you don't want to be there, then you've got to step up and do something to make it more enjoyable, because you're not going to get out of it.
Absolutely. It can be as fun as you want it to be. Mm-hmm. Like you could take any subject you like, and you can make, all right, maybe not math. Maybe you can't make math fun. Let's just be frank and honest with ourselves.
Coming from a musician.
Yeah. It's like so my wife talks bills with me or math. I just zone out. I'm just, okay. You've lost me. But yeah, you can take I mean, learning that, you know, you want, as a drummer, you want to drum. You don't want to learn the things, but the fact that he was able to get you, you know, interested in, you know, in the rudiments of it, where it probably wouldn't have grabbed you otherwise. You know what I mean? Like you probably wouldn't have got where you've got had you not had that. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. And it just goes to show, if you're going to invest in a teacher, you know, it's one thing when you're in school and you have your one choice. I can either do it with this person or not do it at all. But when you have the ability to do it outside of that, especially now, because you can do Zoom lessons with people, you can do, you know, like the master classes, all kinds of different avenues to learn. Pick somebody that's going to excite you.
Yeah, what we're doing right now could be a lesson. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could literally, you know, stop recording this and start talking about some of the plugins I've got and say, hey, you know, Scott, check this one out. It does this, this, this. Oh, I don't know how I use that. Or, okay, here we go. Or RX. You know, I'm not very good with RX. Mm-hmm. I know you're a wizard at it. Yeah. So you get by as a wizard. I mean, you're a pretty decent wizard. You're a conjurer of magic with RX. So RX is for those everyone knows what RX is in the film community, but it cleans audio. It's like a audio cleaner.
Right. Yeah.
I just reversed the words. That's all I did there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what was I talking about now?
We're talking about how everything could be a lesson.
Yes, yeah, but we could be doing it right now. The technology's there. You're absolutely
and
right.
I think those theories can really expand into all facets of life. And I always go back to, do you know about the Seattle fish market?
No.
So these people literally all day, all they do is work in a fish market. They're unloading fish off trucks. They're selling fish. They're wrapping fish up. Sucky job, but it's a very busy fish market. So what they've done is they've decided that they were going to make it fun. And there is a lot of businesses use this philosophy. It's called the fish philosophy as to how they can make their work environment more enjoyable. And it's all about, they play games, they yell, they scream, they dance around, they interact with the customers. They just make it fun.
Yeah.
So if you could take a crappy job in a just a smelly environment, and it's wet and stuff all the time, if you can
kind of like my
fun,
basement, actually,
kind of like Kevin's studio right now, maybe less fish.
Less. I do like my fish down here. That's to be honest.
Well, I can't
like
see the whole thing, so Zoom isn't scratch and sniff yet.
Yeah. Not yet. No, I've actually, funnily enough, so my wife and I, to take a detour quickly. My wife and I decided one of the features of trying to get out of this rut that we're all going through is to try and get out once in a while, whether it's, obviously social distancing as best as possible.
Sure.
But we went for a hike to Sedona, which hadn't been for a while. And it was amazing, beautiful. We had a great hike, got there early, went to the shops. And anyone who's been to Sedona, it's got this really nice kind of new age type vibe about it. And so I went in and I bought some of these incense sticks.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That you light up and you just let it go. And I remember as a kid in my first, I said studio, it was my bedroom, but my first studio, I would light, and I just remember as I lit it, the smell coming back. It was just, because I haven't used them since, it's kind of a teenage thing. But I know some studios use it, and it made the place kind of feel different. It was great. So
yeah,
there's a new thing. I'm going to definitely preach the benefits of incense sticks for sure.
Now, I will say that if you've got a vocalist coming in or somebody doing ADR, you might not want to use that as much just because it's going to dry out the room. But it just like mood lighting, like a lot of people put LED light strips around the studio so that they can change the mood. Incense will do that too, because our sense of smell is very much like the visual. Anything that stimulates mood can be very effective.
Creativity. And, I don't know anyone's stance on marijuana, but for me, I find, not me personally, but I find I don't allow it in here just because of the equipment, but anybody that, has partaken before they've come into the studio, obviously advocating for Uber and anywhere else, I'm not advocating for any kind of driving under the influence here, but if I find that those people, it unlocks a creative area for them, and that's another way that people like to kind of enhance a way of creativity that maybe would make them think differently versus how they would normally do something.
That's very true. I've done some engineering sessions where they would go outside and get high and then come in and play for a couple of hours and that. Right. But now, of course, you can do edibles.
Yes, correct. Yep, a lot of people do. I won't advocate for any one type, but I obviously tell people if you can take it without smelling out the area down here, then go for it.
Well, yeah, because you're in a basement in an enclosed area, and that smell is pungent and does not go away easily. No,
and it's very difficult to get it out. So I want to make sure that it's, if they're going to do that, it's. I'm not anti-marijuana by any sense, but if it helps them, great. But just please don't smell out the the studio that's already having struggles with odors, because it's I'm just joking, it's not.
Well, and that's one thing, like when I used to walk up and down the strip, was there's a lot of clouds of marijuana smoke, and it is very I hate that smell. I don't mind people doing it. Do what you want, you're not hurting anybody, but I just hate being around that smell. I'm like, there are so many other options now.
Yes.
Totally.
I mean, go exactly. Do something that's not going to leave a trace of what you've just lit up in here.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely, I not to stay on the subject of marijuana, but I have to, with the mix of marijuana with, like, let's say hip hop, it's almost like it's like having what's the equivocal for 80s rock? It's like having Hairspray.
Yeah.
It's like it's one and the same. If you aren't, or leopard skin pants or something, like if you don't have them on in the 80s and you're a big hair rock star, you aren't a big 80s rock star. And so the marijuana with the hip hop crowd that I use the studio, it's almost synonymous with it, and it's almost like they have this part of the culture of it. It's very interesting for me to watch. But
you would almost think that when you buy a hip hop CD, they would spray it with something so that you get the experience on the listener end. You know,
exactly right. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. When I've got an album that actually comes out tomorrow, as this is released on Wednesday, it comes out on Thursday.
Oh, congrats, man!
So thanks. There's all the marketing and everything that goes on with it, and I don't typically watch movies very often, but I'll have them on while I'm doing non-creative things. And the other night, I had on Sucker Punch, which I've never seen before. It's on Netflix now. Good
movie, yeah. It's Zack Snyder, I think. Right?
It is, yeah. There are parts of that movie that are just so difficult to watch because of the whole, over sexualization and the danger that these women are in the story. But man, that soundtrack was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember again, but I think one of the tracks on there was one of my favorite bands, if I remember. So I'm gonna check and see who was on there, because
they did a version of White Rabbit, which was fantastic. Sweet Dreams are made of this.
That's the one I'm thinking of, the Sweet Dreams remix. Yeah, White Rabbit.
If the credits read right, Emily Browning actually sang that.
Yes, correct.
Which is great.
Sweet Dreams. And it was very slowed down. It was very, because this was, 2011? Yeah, 2011. So this was a very kind of, still in the realm of 300, slow, ultra slow, 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, kind of real slow-mo action scenes type thing. Mm-hmm. And that was a whole thing. I love that whole look, that whole stylized view. I'm actually really excited that Zack Snyder, I'm not a big Marvel or DC fan at all.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited Zack Snyder's coming to do his own cut of the Batman, the what's it called film?
Batman versus Superman?
No, the what's the DC superheroes? What's it called?
I'm not sure.
Remember. It's basically like the Avengers, but DC's Avengers.
Right. Yeah.
I can't believe I'm forgetting it, but it's no, not Suicide Squad. I'll think of it in a minute. But I'm really excited because he apparently he's a very stylized, which I actually have a point to make about this. I did want to talk about this, so I'm glad we're on this.
Oh, good. He did 300 too, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And so movies for me, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is I saw a movie not too recently, but I just can't stop talking about it, and I'll explain why in a second. But it comes back to this whole stylized thing, and like. I love when I go to the movies. I want experiences. I want to see something I've not maybe seen before and hear before at the same time. Sucker Punch is one of those movies like 300 where I'm like, oh man, that's cool. Mm-hmm. These girls and going into this massive tall ninja and this big robot. Like it was just cool. And so I love anything like that. And Zack Snyder's a very, very big, proponent of that kind of stylized view. He's almost a cinematographer as well as a director. He doesn't just go to the cinematographer and say, right, I want this, just kind of figure it out. He's actually like there with the camera figuring it all out as well. It's very hands-on.
No one could understand what he would be talking about unless he did it himself.
But unless he did it himself. But it works. Like look at 300 with some of the action setups that they did. Like right now it's probably not as modern, but back then it was like groundbreaking. And so the whole Zack Snyder thing brought me on to the other point, which was, so the movie I watched the other day was the Elton John movie.
Oh, okay.
With Taron Egerton. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's called why is my brain going into pressure. Mush today? I know. Tell me about it. So it was called Rocket Man.
Oh yeah.
So it was the Rocket Man movie. What told the story of kind of a very stylized, completely probably untrue, maybe some half-truths, and it was just completely embellished. Mm-hmm. But that's what I wanted to see. I didn't care about Elton John's real life. Like I didn't care to sit through like a History Channel thing on Rocket Man. And I felt like I did That did happen a little bit with We Will Rock You, or the Queen biopic one, whatever that was called.
I think that's kind of the fear, is how much of it would just be basically a documentary that looks like a movie versus a story.
Yeah,
based on this is the character that's based on somebody but it's not really him, but it's kind of him.
Yeah, but there was just with the We Will Rock You, or again whatever the Queen one's called. It just felt like it was a biopic, and it was there was drama, and it was very movie like, but they're almost trying to pay too much attention to what t-shirt was he wearing when he did that, and does the actor look like Freddie Mercury? Does everyone look like their parts? And it was cool for its thing, but Rocket Man for me was like this attack on the senses. There was setups in this film where I just felt it. Like, I was like, it looks cool, it sounds cool, and it's just something I've never really seen before. And the director, Dexter Fletcher, is a British director. He did a lot of he's done a lot of TV work where he's very stylized in that. And I love that. I'm finding myself leaning towards directors that just will throw as much as they can at me, at my senses. Not Michael Bay like explosions and stuff, because that's easy to do.
Right.
But something's just, it says something, it makes a statement that's new, and it's engaging, and it's like you talk about it afterwards. So I say go see Rocket Man or see it on Amazon Prime or whatever. You will not be disappointed.
I'll check that out. That's how I felt about the Blair Witch when that came out. Because it was very unique. The marketing was incredible, but it wasn't anything we had seen before. It wasn't just another slasher horror movie. And same with the Human Centipede. There has never been any movie ever like that. And that's very much the same for me. I've seen Star Wars. I've watched The Facts of Life. I've experienced all these things growing up. My senses are numb to that all now.
Yeah, it's just not as cool as it was before. Like when 300 came out, there was a bunch of 300 type ripoffs like Spartacus and all this kind of stuff, which were cool. Again, the TV show Spartacus, not the movie, but the TV show Spartacus was great for what it was. It was like, there's just, I don't know. I just like to be, I guess my senses tingled by something different, because But whenever we come up with something new, we have to run it into the ground, right? So you take that, totally.
That when Cher came out with "Do You Believe in Life After Love?"
and then auto-tune,
everybody started doing that, and then the same with that. They would freeze frame, and then they would pan the camera around everybody being frozen. Then that was done to death.
The bullet time type thing, the Matrix bullet time or whatever,
And so as soon as there's something new, everybody just gravitates towards it, and then they do it to death, and then we have to find something new to run into the ground. It's just like
dubstep. That sums dubstep up. It's this new fresh take on electronic genres that could have been there for a while, and it just burnt out because everybody was doing it, and it was just done to death, and people just sick and tired of it.
Well, it's like every time there's something new that gains any momentum, people just see cash cow, and I've got to get in before other people do, and then you just get a flood of it. But
there's part of that is true. To be the first to do it, and kind of break that ground, be the one to break that ground.
But that's the position. Like, you got to be the guy that creates it. You can't be the follower. There's only going to be a handful of followers that are going to really cash in, and then it's just going to die.
Right. Agreed. Totally agree.
But before we go, I want to talk to you about a project, because we didn't get to talk about this last time. I want to talk about the project that you and I did together, which I had so much fun with, under the name of the Magic Cube.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's still out there. That's you helped me record the vocals on that. That's right. I remember. And you did a vocal on it.
I did a vocal on it. Yeah.
So that's kind of my EDM cinematic side project that has been dormant for a while. I always get the urge to I have two like alter ego. Actually, I have three. Hang on, maybe there's four. I have a bunch of I can never decide what mood I'm in at the time. So whether it fits my, angry EDM phase, then I'll put it under one kind of moniker. If it's a chilled kind of vibey thing, it will go under another. And if it's kind of a hybrid of the two, then it will go under my London Social Club moniker. So there's a ton of stuff. But yeah, you helped me with the Magic Cube Legion. I think it was called Legion.
Yeah, because we did the ADR sessions at my studio. Our dear friend Sarah Lavelle came over and did her voice, and It's really catchy stuff, though. It's really energetic, really catchy, but then it had some really good emotional parts in it. I thought it was a really well-rounded EP.
Yeah, I'll look back. So the name's Starfighter.
Starfighter,
again,
that's right.
My own stuff. So it's a 6-track EP that I did. It was like this back in 2013. It was this futuristic kind of like dystopian story, and I wrote a whole kind of symphony EP on it. And there's like I'm really proud of some of the tracks. I will say, as an engineer, I listen back and I'm like, I could have so used that plugin I've got right now on this. Like, I wish I had it. That it's like de-essers. I didn't own a de-esser at the time, and there was some de-essing that I think I would have preferred to do. But I may remaster it. That's an option as well. I could remaster it and put it out. But
there you go. Well, yeah, I mean, if I had Instant Dialogue Cleaner by Audionamics, which I use on every podcast now, like that would have taken me 10 seconds to export to you. And
I have to check that one out. That one, I hear a lot about that one. It's that will have to be on my shopping list, because I've got all of the cool stuff, but that one I hear a lot, and I hear it from people that know their stuff. So
they're very nice people to work with, and they actually featured me at the NAMM show on their big screen, because I did a demo with them on how I use it on my podcast, and so they were playing that at the NAMM show, which was really cool.
That's cool.
But I did a video series recently on how I do my podcast, and I did a video just on IDC, which is on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll then send me the link. I think I'm subscribed to you, but if not, I should be. I will be.
Yeah, I think for the ADR stuff, I think it's. I'm sure you're getting a pretty clean sound out of the booth, but for any hiss, anything like that, will just take it right out. It's amazing. My
issue is not so much. It's the age-old problem of mixing it back in. Like with Isotope, I need to sit down and actually learn RX. And again, I don't want to get too geeky with what it does, but my big issue is, once I've got the nice clean dialogue, it doesn't matter if you use the same mic again, you're never going to make it sound the same. Just it is what it is.
That's right.
So my key is, how do I mix? I know how to do it, but how to make it easier, I guess, is my question. Is I need to be able to mix in the tone with the dialogue that I've just recorded, and then match it, and it sounds like amazing. I know there's a new Isotope product that does that, but it's Pro Tools only.
Yeah, actually RX can do it. They have what's called an EQ match. So what you do is you put in a sample of what you want it to sound like, and it'll try and pick out those nuances, and then take the new sample that you're trying to affect and see what it can do to match that. One.
That's probably what I need to play around with them, because there is, I've done some of the cleaning, and again, I've got a very old method of doing it. It involves similar steps, but laying stuff over and mixing it in, that kind of stuff. But you're right, there's more automated ways that will make my life easier. So I probably need to get in on how to do that.
It's worth playing around with and seeing, and it won't necessarily work in every application that you're trying, but if it helps with 50% of them, then you're just that much further ahead. But I'm not going to cry because that program is only available in Pro Tools, because you Logic guys, you guys got Alchemy. And I am so heartbroken over the fact that I can't use Alchemy anymore.
Oh, Alchemy's great. Yeah, it's one of those things. I absolutely love I had Alchemy on the iPad. I was using it a lot for just getting sounds out from the iPad. In fact, some of the sounds on that EP, my Magic Cube Starfighter EP, were from Alchemy on the iPad.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's a track called Raptor, I think, that I used the sound off of that, and then one called Regalo Rai that I also used the lead line from Alchemy on the iPad.
Kidding. Oh wow.
So yeah, interesting enough. But yeah, it's a great thing. But I'm almost spoiled now with obviously Omnisphere. I use that all the time. And predominantly not for synthesized stuff. Mostly it's their kind of weird Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross type sounds for those types of eerie, stuff. But Native Instruments, that they always pull stuff out. And there's a ton of really good third-party libraries out there that, like Sound Iron, Piano Book, Spitfire Audio have their free labs range. There's just a ton of them that all sound amazing.
It's and unfortunately I'm on a high number of their mailing lists, and I this is me during the day. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Yeah. And I try and delete it before I even read it.
I hate when sales come. Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna get 15 emails because I got 15 accounts with them because I had to get take advantage of all of the different offers.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
So it's
and we're gonna have to do. Maybe we'll do this sometime before Christmas. We'll do like our top 5 plugins each.
I'd love to do that because I have. Let's do a touch base on our top 2. What's your top 2 plugins? I'll say
we have to do that as a video. Like we have to actually record and release that as a video, though, so we can do the on-screen. Here's what the plugin looks like.
Let's do a precursor for that particular show with a top 2, just verbally confirming, like talking at what it is and why it's your top 2 and why you love it.
Okay,
you can go first.
I'm going to start with my top 1, and it's obvious because I said it already. IDC by Audionamics, the Instant Dialogue Cleaner. I use it on so much. I would have to say my second one is probably Bass Rider, because...
Oh, I don't know that one. Oh, Bass Rider. Yes, I do know that one.
Because I'm a very novice bass player, and I just realized the mistake that I was making using round wound instead of flat wound strings for the way I play. So my volumes are very inconsistent because I'm such a beginner player. And so with Bass Rider, you can just take it and smooth all that out so that it's, I've got Vocal Rider and I'll use it sparingly on certain things. But typically, I don't do, I'll let the automation write and then I'll print it and I'm done. Like that. Yeah. Typically it helps me, get into that spot. So what's your second favorite then? Well, that was the second, but I'll...
sorry, third. I'm sorry. See, I told you math is not fun.
Right.
Math isn't fun.
There's too many numbers.
Exactly.
There's it's kind of cheating because it's a Cakewalk plugin that's exclusive to Cakewalk owners that came before BandLab bought them, and it's just they're a series of plugins called Sonatus, and they're basic compressor, basic EQ, basic limiter, but I use them all the time because I just dial it up and go. Love it. Yeah. Love it. How about you?
So I would say my number one, and it's predominantly because of the dialogue side of things and cleaning and stuff. I use this amazing plugin called Soothe.
I've heard of that.
Which is there's Soothe 2, which is the new one. But it's literally a plugin that you put on a vocal chain. Let's say you've got some sibilance build up or some just not very nice frequencies that just, instead of cutting on the EQ, you put this, it's very similar to BX refinement. If you know what refinement is, it does the same thing. It just looks at harsh frequencies on a typical range, assesses what they are, and then it just dips. And I literally just put the plugin on and leave it. And it takes away all of that harshness, all that digital harshness on recorded audio. Not that I record here, but that's recorded in other places, that when I'm mixing, I'll de-harsh it using Soothe. That for me is it's just such a time time saver. So Soothe 2 is my number one right now. My second, that's hard because there's God, we'll have to wait for the top 10 maybe. But I'd say right now it's probably Echo Boy by Sound Toys.
That is a cool plugin.
It's amazing. It's got some really cool algorithms and delays and stuff that I used the other day actually on a gunshot sound effect. I had to emulate an echo in a valley. So I used it to kind of help create that. But I also use Delay Designer from Logic, which is another stock plugin. But we're spoiled. I know everyone says it, but there are so many cool plugins out there that, we don't want for anything nowadays, really.
Well, that's true. And we talked about this last time, how we just keep buying them anyway. But I did something very similar to you when you rearranged your studio. You said, I don't really need this rat gear anymore. I don't really do this. This I can put away because I don't need it right now. When I moved, I did kind of the same thing that you did. I looked at all this equipment that I've been dragging around. I'm like, what do I really need? So, I can get rid of my outboard EQ. I can get rid of my outboard 16-channel mixer. I just got a little 6-channel Mackie just for recording keyboards and
Onyx
stuff.
Or Xenix.
Everything else plugs directly into my audio interface now. So I can start getting rid of all this stuff. I don't need to lug it around anymore. Why do I have it?
Gear Sluts is full of old middle-aged men that are pissed off at the youth who have their laptops because the youth have spent maybe 5% of the total cost on equipment that the older people do, and don't have to sit there justifying why they've got this big, API 48 channel mixer that's essentially a coffee stand.
Right.
And I see that a lot. And don't get me wrong, it looks cool as shit to have, excuse my French. It looks cool. Can we complete that one, please?
Right.
But if we have, you have this really nice desk, and then all this outboard, it looks great. All these lights. Sure. Like Chris Lorgalgi's studio, like it looks amazing.
Yeah, but
I bet he doesn't use it all. It's all and what the a lot of people go there because it looks good. Mm-hmm. That's honestly that's what it is. So yeah, I you should always spring clean where you need to. Like there's definitely it doesn't having all that stuff will just give me a headache. Because I know I've got to patch it and I need a patch bay. And then if I get a patch bay, then should I be getting the Nutrix cables or the it's like, no, it's just simplified. No one's writing music. They're too busy rewiring studios. And that's not what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't really do a video on that anyway, but you're absolutely
Precisely.
Right. And it's one of those things where you have to go, is there something I need this for? Like I have a Sony DPS V55 effects rack that I got.
Yep.
Almost right when it came out because it was the brand new technology. It was amazing. And I'm keeping it for one effect I need on a vocal track when I re-release a song. Yep. And as soon as I've done that, I don't need it anymore.
And that's the thing. But I will tell you that as incomes rise in the middle class, music's not a cheap hobby.
No.
Being a studio owner is not cheap by any means. And we're forever in debt. So don't get into it if you think there's money to be made, because there really isn't. But, a lot of this gear that was 20 years ago was just digital, it's a digital Yamaha thing or whatever, that no one wanted. And now people are looking for that digital sound again. It comes back in fashion. They're paying 4, 5, 6 times over the odds for something that I gave away for $50, 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Like the Korg Prophecy, which was a keyboard in the 90s that came out. I always wanted one. Just wanted this synth as really, really wanted this. Saved up, never ended up buying it. Really regretted it. So I went to go buy one. I'm thinking they're probably pretty cheap. Some dude wanted like $1,500 for it. And it was a $400 synth, and because
it's rare
like the
now.
old cars. Because it's rare, but also guys like me, who couldn't afford it when they were younger, can now probably afford it. Mm-hmm. And so it's driven the price up. So but this has nothing to do with being able to make music and finish music. This is purely because we get bored and we want a nice shiny synth in the corner. We'll probably never use it for maybe one note, just like your Sony example.
Right.
But by heck, it'd look good in the corner, so we're spending money on.
Well, and to further that point, at least 3 times a year, I look at Native Instruments and I look at those wonderful little, like the track pads and stuff that they have that can do all these different colors and they really look cool. And I'm like,
I own 2 of them.
We'll see.
And then I own 4 of them.
4 of them. But I cannot justify purchasing one because I would never use it for anything. I just want it because it looks cool.
I started buying it because I wanted it because it looked cool. Then I was like, this is just an extravagance that I don't need to have. And then I was like, you know what? No, if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to learn it. So I did. I figured out I'm not great with it, but I figured out how to do what I need to make the keys correspond with the certain things. And it's a bit of a pain in the butt, if I'm honest. It really is. Mm-hmm. And not everything works out the box with it. But yeah, I figured if I'm going to do that, I'll have to learn it, because the great thing about getting rid of a bunch of equipment is you have a much smaller selection, and so you should learn it, because you should know 5 pieces very well versus have 20 pieces and only know 5% of them well.
Very true.
It's kind of what we should do.
And for most people, that's going to be contact, play.
Yep. That's it.
Those are going to be
basically it.
Along their 5 pieces of gear.
Precisely. Yeah. I agree. Contact is always up there for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, it's really like it's the foundation of just about everything now. So many people release libraries on it, whether they're part of the official, you can add them into the main port, or you have to go through the file system.
Files. Yeah. Yep.
But it's an endless amount of things that are available for it. And honestly, of all the purchases I've made, that has to be one of the best.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Native Instruments Complete was by and large, probably the best investment outside of the computer and Logic and those things, because it has everything in it, and it's decent. Most of it's decent.
Do you do the ultimate upgrade every year?
Not every year. I haven't done it. I think I own 9 or 8. I haven't updated it since then.
Okay.
But I was waiting to 11. I think it's up to 11 now, isn't it?
12.
So I own 10. That's what I own. I own 10 for sure.
So you'd still get the
upgrade.
I'm
a couple of versions. Yeah, I still get the upgrade price, and it is ultimate, so I can get the ultimate package.
Right. Here's the funny thing I realized last night is that I have 5 different bass guitars and only really one playable regular guitar in Contact in Ultimate. And I'm like, that really seems out of balance to me. It
is a little bit, I'll be honest. I have a couple of the strum ones that are pretty good. I mean, you could tell they're not authentic, but if you put them underneath something just to give it that rhythm, you can't tell. You really can't. I mean, they're real instruments that it's not synthesized in any way other than it's, recorded.
Right. Well, I just did a masterclass with Steve Morse, the guitar player from Deep Purple and Dixie Dregs and all that. I just did that a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about one of the things that he plays in a song called Birds of Prey, where he's doing these very long sustained notes. And he said, well, I really can't sustain a note that long on my guitar. So what I do is I actually just hit it again, but I do it on the kick or on the snare where that
so you don't hear the twang
buried.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. I've watched similar things with orchestral samples where sometimes the gong, or whatever the cymbals or whatever, you actually position them just slightly ahead of the click, the kick drum or the hit or the downbeat, because it gives that chance to really hit properly. So if you have it on the grid exactly lined up with a kick drum, it doesn't have as much impact as if it was just offset slightly to the left by a few notches, and it does work. So sure.
It's one of the only percussion things I absolutely never quantize, because it will lock it into the wrong position. You have to just move it where it feels right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you got to get that human feel back in.
So do they have what's your time frame on the film that you're working on now, the Western?
So we are obviously deep in post-production. We hopefully delivery of sound is going to happen sometime in the next couple of weeks, maybe up to a month, because of just, being aggressive with it. If I can get the pieces I want recorded, that's really open to changing the timelines. If I can't get the session musicians I want to come in on the time I need them, then it will delay it, because I won't do the score without the pieces I need. I mean, all the cues I've written are around having layers of real instruments above it. Otherwise, it just sounds like a skeleton cue, and it's not going to sound right. So, yeah, I'd say probably 3 weeks to 4 weeks at the very most, it will be handed in. And then as to when it will be available, we don't know. And we're hoping that there'll be a video on demand. We do have an offer to do a theatre run, a limited theatre run, and I think 50 theatres in a couple of states. But unfortunately, theatres are closed. So that is really an agreement that is worth nothing at this point. So like everything, we just got to wait and see what happens with this this virus, and if things clean up a bit better, we'll have it out there. But yeah, the trailer is out there, and I think there'll be another trailer coming soon. We did 2 trailers, so one slightly longer and one shorter. But we've got to also wait for these pickups on these actors, because we haven't been able to shoot anything with these actors yet because they're SAG. And,
right? Yeah, and I'll put the link to the trailer in the show notes too, because it's definitely worth taking some time to watch. Like I said, the cinematography is beautiful. I love the music that you wrote for the trailer. I'm not a big Western fan by any stretch of the imagination. I could never watch another Western again and be happy. But I want to see this film because it really looks like they did such a good job making the trailer interesting, instead of just saying, here's the 3 hits we need to put action on, and here's when we need to have the love story. And they didn't follow that formula. They just said, this is a good story.
He cut it to the track I wrote. So that trailer piece, he gave me a rough cut, and then I wrote the song, and he kind of tidied it up along with what I did.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really supposed to be unconventional, more traditional in the sense, not this kind of like typical stuff you see, whether you cut to black and it stays on black for 3 seconds. And, there are some of that because, of course, that's the modern thing, but not as much as some of these other movies have. But yeah, I mean, I'd love people to, keep on top of when it's coming out. We'll be proud of it. It's a lot of work right now. We're in the period of where we hate it. And we just don't want nothing to do with it because it's just taking up every waking minute. But when it is done, I think it'll be something we'll be proud of. So
I think so. I get that way with every project I do. I mean, by the time that I'm done with the writing phase, I don't want to mix it because I'm sick of hearing those songs, and then you got to mix it and then you got to master it. It's endless until you're done.
It's endless until you're done, and you're the only one doing it, and you've got your self-doubt and the critique and all this stuff that comes with it. So yeah, it's, again, ladies and gents, don't get into this as a profession. You will not be happy. I'm just joking, of course.
You've got to be passionate about this. If you're willing to put up with all the things that we put up with to do what we do, there's got to be some strong passion that keeps you doing it. Otherwise, you could take that money, pay cash for a house,
Totally. Oh, easy. Twice over at this point, I think.
Yeah.
I've got to run as well. I will, this has been great. Let's do a touch base every couple of months. This is,
I'd love to. It's always great to talk to you. It's good to see you guys are up and running and that you're able to proceed with the film during all of this insanity.
Not through choice, I think, but it does show that you can find an excuse to not do anything. And this just teaches you that, really it's your own worst enemy when it comes to having the fortitude to go and do something. And that's what I'm learning.
I'll wrap it up with this. I think that this whole thing is an opportunity to find out who we are as individuals. You could be the kind of individual that just complains about not being able to go outside.
Yes.
I miss this. I miss that. Or you could be the kind of person that says, you know what? I've always wanted to learn baking. This is a great time to take some classes and learn how to do it. That is
exactly how people should be looking at this. Is there's too much air. It's comfortable to join the choruses of despair, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's easy to do that, but it's harder to turn it around and go against the grain, saying, you know what, I'm going to use this for positivity. And it comes all the way back full circle to that point I made in the very beginning about organization, I'm very poor at organizing, but I'm learning to be good because getting stuff done is all about organization. So
absolutely.
You can't have one without the other.
Well, keep us posted on the score. Good luck on the film. Thanks so much for taking some time to hang out and talk again. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
You got it. Thanks, Scott.
You bet. What a great guy. He's got such a great outlook on things. He's definitely got a good grip on life, and I think he takes advantage of great opportunities that are afforded to us. And he's right. This is a time that we should be looking at what we can do to better ourselves, to better our position, to increase our knowledge, our skills. You can sit here and complain about what you don't have, or you can enjoy all these wonderful things that we do have at our fingertips, which is always my suggestion. So thank you guys for listening to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I will be back next week with another lovely guest, and I wish you guys a safe and wonderful time. Take care, and we'll see you soon.